Hi, I'm Jim from Hypervac Technologies, and this is just a quick video to explain our H1 duct truck. This is our regular body. It's 7.5 feet wide by 12 feet long. We also make it in a wide body version, which is right here, and it's 8 feet wide by 12 feet long, and it's actually 6 inches taller. It's kind of hard to tell just by looking at them, but this one is a little bigger. This truck is something we'd normally put on if you're running like a big truck, like a top kick or a Hino or something that's really wide. Here we've got it on a GMC because the client supplied us with a GMC, and then he actually bought a wide track, and it's not something we build very often. The most common truck we normally build is this one here, which is 7.5 feet wide by 12 feet long. And our bodies are made entirely out of aluminum. And one of the reasons we went to aluminum is because it's so much lighter than steel and it doesn't rust. And so if you can take the truck and cut its weight in half, then you've also cut in half the amount of wear and tear on the chassis, on the brakes, on the transmission, and all the things that go along with that. So by going to aluminum, it makes it ultra light. A lot of these trucks with the chassis, depending on your chassis, are running under 10,000 pounds. So if you're in a state limit where DOT regulates 10,000 pounds and over or under, then that can make a big difference on your DOT regulations. So here we'll just open up one of these ones. This is our wide body. So in this one we actually just put shelving in. That's all the client wanted. We do have a slide out box mechanism, which we can cut to in part of this video, where you can actually see the slide out shelving unit coming in and out. If you come around the side, these doors are a clean out storage bay. And basically everything drops into these two tubs, so there's no more shoveling your junk out, going to the dump, paying environmental fees. Inside these tubs, you can just put a couple of garbage bags and then empty them once a month, or once, depending on how busy you are, maybe a couple times a month. They'll hold a lot, so you can get 250, 300 pounds worth of debris. I wouldn't be surprised if you could store every bit as much storage or debris in these two tubs as you would in a conventional duct truck, the old style method. The nice thing with this is it's clean. You're not shoveling crap out and you're not fighting with it. And if you had a big job where you had, insulation or thousands of gallons of dust or debris, sand, you can run these hoses right into a BFI bin if you needed to. And then here we've just got our Havoc system, gas, and then the other side of the storage. Now if you notice with this truck, we're using whale tail latches, 3-point, so they grab pretty good. This truck only has one tank, but a lot of the fuel driven trucks have front and rear tanks, and when we do that, well, even this one, we actually hook the gas and the gas engine and the gas compressor directly up off the truck's fuel cell, so you only fill up once, and it's all automatic, so you don't have to worry about it. Now, keep in mind, with the Havoc gas system, we have nothing against PTO driven trucks. We can build them all day long. If somebody wants to bring us a chassis, we'll build a power takeoff truck. The problem that we have is GM, Ford, Chev, Dodge, they're all kind of getting rid of their power takeoffs on the 1 ton, and so you got to go up to 5500 series to get a power takeoff, which are extremely expensive. The other downside to PTOs is 2016, Ford's getting rid of PTO altogether. So after that, if you want to have a PTO driven truck, you're stuck with a TerraStar or Peterbilt, some of these massive trucks, and spending $80,000 on a chassis just doesn't make sense when all you needed to do is just drive suction. So that's the reasoning why we developed this new system called the Havoc, and it's a gas powered system. It runs, I think, a gallon to 2 gallons per hour depending on what RPM you're running, and it's relatively cheap and easy to fix if something breaks down. I had one viewer comment on, well, now you got 2 engines to deal with. Well, yeah, you do have 2 engines to deal with, but you got a Honda engine on the compressor, and you got a Subaru engine. We could also run Kohler, Briggs & Stratton. It's your choice of engine on the fan. And these engines are very, very reliable engines. That's why we use those style. And they don't break down very often. And if they do break down, you can change out the whole engine in 20-30 minutes and be back up and running in no time. So yes, there is 2 engines, but what are the other options? Your PTO option, you go up to Peterbilt or $80,000 for a truck, or you stick with a nice cheap little chassis, 1 ton dually. These chassis cost us 30 grand. And so 30 grand, your box is 45, 50, so 85,000 bucks, and you're up and running in a brand new duct truck that's half the weight of a traditional duct truck, has a far less wear and tear because you don't have all the weight on it. You can have far less breakdowns, and so this is what we've come up with in terms of getting rid of the PTO option. And so we'll still build a PTO if somebody wants us to, but here's the new version, the new H1. So we'll go around, we'll start it up. I just want to quickly touch on some options here. For instance, we've got ladder rung material for the ladder. So it's not just 4x4 or 1x1 ladder material, it's actually rung material. Also, just to touch on, we can do basic steel, we can do aluminum, or over here, So this is stainless steel walkway, stainless steel ladder. This is an additional option. You pay extra for it. This client wanted stainless steel because it doesn't rust. You don't have to worry about paint chipping, the powder coat chipping. And then what we did was we bring it in mill grade finish, and then we have it bead blasted, and then it comes out actually pretty nice and clean, and it gives it a nice, very high-end finish, very high-end look. Okay, so here we're up on the roof. You'll see we got a ladder rack. Ladder racks pretty much come standard on all the duct trucks. And here what we did was we took angle and we ran it all the way down. The reason we do it this way is so that way you can throw your ladder on from the back and just slide it all the way up, so you're not catching the ladder all the way through. We also continue the safety grating onto the roof. This safety grating is a huge feature if it's raining or you're going to climb with a lot of snow. The heat from the engine down below actually keeps this roof pretty ice free, so you don't have a lot of ice up here. And then we only have bag doors on one side now, so we've moved our bag doors to one side of the truck, so you have dedicated ladder, dedicated bag doors. It's a much simpler process, and you don't have to worry about moving your ladders every time you open your bag door. We got gas shocks on here, so they're easy to open and close. And that's the roof. Okay, so to start the system, it's actually pretty simple. If you can start a gas lawnmower, you can start the system, so it's not complicated at all. I'm basically going to just turn up your idle a little. Pull out your choke, because I don't think it's started yet today. Let it warm up for a sec. Okay, so that's your basic setup. Your Champion, these compressors, we can get these in other configurations. This is a 245 PSI model, about 23 CFM. So it's similar to a Quincy 340, 325. We can also build Quincy compressors, whatever kind of compressor you want to put in. I like the Champion because they're fairly reliable, they're inexpensive. This whole compressor costs about the same as just a Quincy head, and it'll last every bit as long. So we've had good luck with them. I've used them for about 15 years in my own duct cleaning business, and we haven't had any real issues with them. That's why I like them. One of the other nice components about having your vacuum separated from your compressor is that quite commonly nowadays you're not running just a duct truck to a job anymore. Nowadays most duct cleaners are actually bringing portables, or high-end portables anyways. And like we build a 220 volt portable 5000 CFM, which will have close to the same suction as this truck at 125 feet of hose. So a lot of times when you go to a job, it's just easier to pull out your portable depending on the job. So if you're running your portable that day, it's just so much nicer just to run your compressor. You're only running a little bit of gas on this. You can keep your vacuum turned off. And also if you're just doing dryer vents, say all you need is your compressor, then you don't have to go up on the roof, open and close your bag doors. You just run your compressor to do your dryer vent, get in and out. It's a lot less labor, a lot easier to use. So a lot of guys are actually preferring, once they actually use this setup, they're preferring to have their compressor separated from their vacuum. I get a little bit of grief about it when I first explain it to people. Then after they actually use it, they're actually glad they have it that way. And on the control panel, you got throttle, choke, fuses, hour meter, tach meter, fuses, and then you got two cooling fans, interior lights, and there's also a rear light. We can also put on more lighting if somebody wants, if they request it. And also on here, technically you only need one cooling fan, but we always run two cooling fans, the second one for redundancy, because you do have to have a cooling fan when the system's running. So if one should fail, you always got a backup fan just in case, although we haven't had any fans fail yet, but it doesn't hurt to have some redundancy. We actually packed two batteries on here. One is an engine starting battery, so this will start both the engines. It's a high cranking amperage battery. And then this battery is a long high reservoir battery, so this one isn't real great for cranking, but it's really good for powering fans and lights and that type of thing. And then we do run a battery separator inside, so that if the lights get left on or the fans get left on and it kills the battery, then it doesn't affect your cranking battery, so you can still start it up. And then when you start these engines, they'll actually automatically rebuild the dead battery if you need it to. So that's your battery pack. And we've been building these trucks. We've pretty much got all the bugs worked out, and it's working very well. And it's the H1 duct truck, all aluminum, half the weight of a regular duct truck, a lot less money, and every bit all the suction of a standard duct truck.